When you are real, God begins to heal you progressively, begins to prepare you for the purpose. So he puts in pillars that will help you withstand the enemy, because the top is not meant for people who've not got foundation. Kings are made from trenches. Kings still come from
Kings are made from
trenches.
trenches.
Right. So a lot of the times we think, oh, it's destroyed, it's gone, I'm going to continue wallowing in my darkness. But hey, you are called to be light.
Welcome back to Makamba, the Unfiltered Conversations. My name remains Enobong, and I'm your host for this episode. Today's episode is one that will touch your heart, yes, and challenge your perspective on pain, on purpose, and becoming. My guest today has walked through unimaginable trauma, 17 years of servitude, cycles of addiction, deep sorrow, and brokenness. But out of that brokenness came a powerful story of redemption and purpose. I'm honored to have Dr. Ifeanyi Akaleme today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
It's such an honor to have finally gotten you to say yes and to be here. Thank you so much. Your story is one that everybody needs to hear. The rich, the middle class, the poor, everybody needs to hear your story. But before we go into that, I would like to read Doctor's bio. It's important to understand so that when the session is going on, you will understand why I needed to read this bio. A lot of you do not understand the joy that we have here. I had to literally print this bio out because initially I was going to go like read it through my phone. I'm like, no, this person deserves a read through of his bio properly. Respect well deserved. Dr. Ifeanyi is a business manager, a multi-sector consultant, and people-centric entrepreneur at the interplay of tech, policy, and education. With over 15 years of proven experience, Dr. Ifeanyi is a dynamic business manager, a strategic consultant known for driving growth and impact across sectors. His expertise spans consultative selling, strategic partnerships, business strategy, stakeholders management, revenue optimization, financing analysis, and policy development. Dr. Ifeanyi has consistently delivered transformational results in diverse industries, including banking, healthcare, education, technology, fintech. He combines sharp business acumen with a human-centered approach to innovation and execution. I am a beneficiary, I can guarantee you, of Dr. Ifeanyi's classes. I've had to attend one or two of his master classes, and I am a beneficiary. So this bio I just read, trust me, is as real as it gets. So join me and welcome Dr. Ifeanyi Akaleme to Makamba podcast on Unfiltered Conversations. You're very welcome, Doc.
Thank you very much. That was heavy.
We had to do that because I needed people to see the intro because we want to discuss very deep things, and it's really important that people get to understand how you became who you are today. It wasn't instant coffee, that there was actually a process to where you are today. So let's hit this off right now. So I'm going to start by asking you, first and foremost, Dr. Ifeanyi, in your story, which you have, not held back a couple of times, you've put it out there on different social media platforms, and you have also said that at several, speaking engagements you've had. So in your story, you talk about going from addiction to addiction, sorrow to sorrows, and even feeling like a skeleton, a dead skeleton and buried, as you say. That picture is so vivid, very vivid. What was your lowest point, and what finally were those shift things that began for you?
Thank you for that very critical question to ask and to answer. I have served as a houseboy for about 17 years. And my lowest point in life was the point where I lost my closest brother. He was like a companion, because Daniel literally held me by the hand when I was growing. And throughout my year in servitude as a houseboy, Daniel was that pillar, and that if there was any role model, it was Daniel, my elder brother. He was in the village. He had done his exams, cleared his work, done excellently well. And whilst I was serving and then gained admission to study engineering in Futo, I had to bring him over to where I was working as a clerk in a hospital in Umuahia. Right. So Daniel literally was
Umuahia.
Yeah.
I see great things come out of Umuahia.
Yeah, was in that place. And he was a huge support for my education in Futo. So I owe everything I am today to Daniel, because without him, I would have failed woefully. Because my guardian, who had served for over 10 to 17 years, said, "No, I won't train you in school."
Oh wow!
So Daniel came in to.
And you served for 17 years.
Came in to fill that gap.
Oh, wow.
I had served his parents, his parents from the in-law family for about 7 years, and I came over to serve him,
Wow.
for the next 10 years. When that point happened where he said no, Daniel picked it up and said, "Brother, you're going to go through this, and we are going to have a graduate in our family."
Oh, wow.
Because I was actually the first.
Oh, wow.
I was the last child, but the first to lead all of this revolution. But
wow.
that the crisis happened in 2018. When in January 2018, I lost my dad. And they put a call to me on the phone and say, "Hey, dad is gone." And it was Daniel. And I told him, it's going to be a celebration. Because this was a man who had, sold sold a lot to see that we had made it. We made it to where we were at that time. But prior to that moment in January 19, 2018, it was December 2017 when Daniel called me to say, "Hey, they cited protein in my urinalysis." And I asked, what was that? Because we had this case of him coming out of hypertension, going back, and we thought, hey, maybe it was the stress, and we had put him on a routine. But then along the line, as the doctors had done a lot of diagnosis, they discovered this. And all of a sudden, after another week, Daniel called. They said, "I will need to go in for dialysis."
Oh, wow. And this was your support system, your really strong support system.
Yeah, so I had left Umuahia to Lagos to say, I need to sacrifice to birth this family out of poverty. Because right from before I had gone in to serve as a houseboy, God gave me that vision to say, you can do it. So I had gone and said, "Daniel, hold still in Umuahia while I go to Lagos to put things together." But 2017, no food, no house, lived in an uncompleted building here in Lagos, made the church my home, where I resumed every morning to serve. Yeah, but again, the ending of 2017 happened, and then January 2018 happened. Dad was gone. Daniel diagnosed with dialysis. I prayed my heart out. There was nothing I didn't tell God. I prayed to the extent that a pastor who was a neighbor said, "Shouting is not prayer, you're praying. Praying in tongues and making the whole neighborhood feel that you're praying is not prayer." It was that deep. It was one of the biggest moments I had with God. And that January before that passed, I had gone out for road work, and I was running, and one man came, like a trainer. Like Paul would say, there's this multitude of angels. There's this, this power that comes for you, pushing you towards the mark. So I saw this man who was leading me towards the mark, and he said, keep running with me. And it was just a few days after that encounter that passed. And I just knew that, hey, it was actually this man who came. Right. And it was my first encounter of angels. Right. So when that thing happened, I told him it was a celebration, and I continued in my moments of prayer with God. But we were just a week to that burial. Daniel called me. It was the 22nd of June, 2018. It was a day after my birthday. He called to say, "Hey, Ify, I'm weak." That's what he calls me. But elder brother is not here. He has gone out with the motorcycle. And I just need to go to see my doctor. I think I need to do a dialysis right now. Nobody was around. Mom was with him. I started calling everybody I knew in Omaya until I got an auntie who said, okay, I'm in the office. I think I can drive down to pick him up. I held on to Daniel and said, don't worry, she's coming. She's going to be here very soon. And luckily for me, the auntie picked him up and they were headed to the hospital for dialysis. Daniel walked into that room and I received his call. But I picked that phone and was hoping that Daniel would say, hey, he was successful. I picked that call. It was my eldest brother, Emmanuel. And he said, they said, Daniel, you cannot breathe again.
My. Oh, wow. That must be, that's, do you need a moment?
Yeah. Daniel was 31. No, I'll continue. Daniel was 31. I was 27 going 28. And I just slumped on the road. I was with the Kedge Electric. I was going to field to share bills. And I just slumped on that road. It was a community road, so clients were seeing me and they were wondering what was happening to Ifeanyi. But it brought a revolution to my world. It was the darkest moment of my life. It was a week to that burial. And that burial had to be held. And I immediately went to church, prayed my heart out, was saying, God, no, you will raise him up in the third day. I think it was a Friday. I prayed, I torn myself apart. I was about rushing to him. I said, don't put him anywhere, keep him, I'm coming. Daniel is going to come back to life. But that didn't happen. And in the deepest part of that encounter with Jesus, he said, hey, he took me to the altar and he did some revelation and he showed me that Daniel was becoming a star. Because I needed to be strong for the family. My mom we were trying to shield it from her because it was another crisis. I didn't want it to happen. His husband gone, son in the mortuary. Yeah, but God strengthened me and I went for that burial, and it was one of the deepest, revelation I've ever had as a believer. But again, it became the beginning of one of the biggest crises I would ever have as a believer. Yeah.
Wow, that I don't know if you're feeling it, but this is really truly a story of brokenness, actually. And when I was very endeared, because yes, I've known you before and all that, but I didn't know these things about you. So sometimes, we just look at people looking all so nice and pretty, but you really have no idea what, people have actually gone through. So when I began to actually, read a lot about you, I was like, wow, this is phenomenal. And because I also know that there are quite a number of people who are going through a lot of things, probably haven't even gone through 1/3 of what you've gone through, but they are giving up. I was like, no, this is Makamba Unfiltered Conversations. It's time to be raw and real about certain things, and that's what endeared me to bring you. And so we are sorry if we are bringing up memories, but we are grateful that you're able to talk through it, and still speak about it, because when our audience gets to listen to this, and this is really deep, I can guarantee you there's a revolution that you're going to break through, because people are going to see that, what, I didn't go through half of this, but if this person could come out of this, then I can come out of this as well. So thank you so much for that. So I'm going to ask another question. So, I don't want to rack up memories anymore, but a lot of my questions are stemming from, things I have read, speeches you have made, comments you've made.
Yeah.
And so that's where a lot of my questions are stemming out of. And so my next question is, so you spoke somewhere and you said something that really stood out for me, and that is the sin that so easily besets us. I'm sure just making that statement reminds you of where that the sin that so easily besets us doesn't come to destroy us, but actually points to our purpose. when I read that statement from where you spoke, I felt that was very deep. And yes, I mean, I'm an apologetically a Christian, and it really, hits a nerve somewhere for me. So, and I said to myself, that's a radical way of looking at pain. So I would like for you to, in just a few minutes, unpack that. How did your struggles reveal what you were really called to do? What you believed was your purpose and what you were really called to do?
Yeah, thank you very much for that very important question. I mean, it's very critical to also address that. And whilst I was kind of ruminating and preparing for this, um, I had something drop, and I that happened while I was listening to Bishop T.D. Jakes, and he said, um, God doesn't need the whole us, like the wholesome us. A lot of the times God is looking for the raw material. And the raw material doesn't come from a place of perfection. It comes from a place of brokenness. So when I look into my past, or into the brokenness, into the sins, I begin to see that God was really shaping me to the nations that He has called me into.
I like that. The nations, nice.
And if you look at Paul the Apostle, who was Saul, when he was Saul, you could never have imagined that God will use him for the nations that he served. I mean, this was a murderer, maiming, killing Christians, was very vocal and visible about it, was aggressive about it. The moment where that brokenness happened, where I had lost my father and my dad, and I had to literally carry both corpses. I was the support system for the family. I was the one who had the contacts. I was the one who had a little bit of funding. And then so I had to carry all of the burden. So I did that burial, and that was why I talked about carcasses and corpses and the broken, the skeletons, because I had carried these two people to the village. We didn't have a land to bury them. We didn't have a house. Part of that was what Daniel was doing before we lost him, trying to get a piece of land somewhere for my dad. So they were laid outside. And I mean, in time of the burial, there was a very heavy rainpour and downpour, and we were just, but it was a successful outing, very massive. But that thing shifted me from the faith. I'm a person who I always get real with God. Right, so I ask him questions, and I want to have conversations, right? So I'd several times I asked him, "Why did you let this happen?" Because as we were going to the village, I had I think I had an elderly woman saying, "We never saw them all these years. Now they are dead, and they are coming back to the village." That struck me. So I had a lot of conversations with God, because that's what I do. God is real. And that's one thing I want everybody to get. He's like you, seated. He wants to be like you, seated beside me, having this conversation. So a lot of the times, he's available, he's around. Yeah. But we are the people who are disconnected, all the time. So we had that conversation, and I kept saying, God, why? Why would you have to let this happen? And he took me to the book of Jonah, where Jonah had said no, where he was sending him to Nineveh, and he had to force him, and that humor that happened at the end, but I still said, God, I am not satisfied. So I had quit church for about 4 years.
Wow.
I stopped going to church 2018 ending to 29. In fact, it was 2018 ending to like 2022. Yeah. So I keep records of my time. There was nothing like church. I quit. I deleted contacts. People were trying to reach me. They couldn't. I served in the choir, and I'm a lead singer. I'm a lead worshiper. Then people couldn't reach me. I disconnected from the fold. And I didn't stop having conversations with God, even in my sins. So I started doing alcohol. I started following bad friends. I would go to the lowest places. I did a lot of dark things. I forsook myself, forsook my mom, the teachings. I was just saying, God, you had to tell me why. And in those moments, I didn't stop believing in God, but there was just this person who says, I think it's not going to work anymore. The blueprint is gone. I mean, I had this plan that, Daniel would be there. I'd go to school. I was going to work on traveling out of the country and all of that. But those moments happened, and in 2021, what felt like, Ifeanyi, you are doing well. You've got your job. You can give God aside. You can continue arguing with God, continue having that conversation. Then I lost my job.
Wow. So we're talking the back-to-back now.
So that moment was when God said, okay, I will use this. You don't want to pay attention. I will use this to get your attention.
I see.
Right. So that moment, it was the least of my expectations, but it happened. But God was using that to say, hey, remember what I said, that He needs the raw material.
The raw material, yeah.
To build on. And that was why out of the dust He made us. The dust is unclean. It's dirty. It's smelling. But He had to make us from there.
Yeah.
Right. But so God, I'd gone back to say, who are the great people I admire? Can you go and look into their lives, how they started, some of the struggles that they have had? And God started revealing to me that, those years were moments of my crush. And some of the big things I know now were the things that, God had revealed to me in those times.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Wow. If you're listening to this, we are talking about the story of the becoming with Dr. Ifeanyi. One line in your story that I'll never forget, and you just, repeated it a few minutes ago, was, God doesn't need the whole you. He needs the broken you. And that's really powerful, because we tend to forget that we don't have to come to God perfect. We don't have to be this amazing, all put together being, when we're coming to God. And so that's really powerful. And you've spoken a lot about, your journey into this brokenness. But I'd like to ask, how do you think, how can others embrace their brokenness instead of hiding it? Because you're quite vocal about your brokenness, so you don't paint any pictures, which is why you fit into the perfect unfiltered conversations for me. But how do you encourage people to embrace their brokenness instead of hiding it, instead of trying to be these very perfect beings that they are not, and try to talk about their story? Because their story, like your story, will definitely encourage other people. So how do you, encourage people to embrace, their brokenness instead of hiding it? Because there's a lot of filtered things happening around.
Absolutely.
People are packaging so much. You can't even see real people anymore. You have to take your time to actually dissect people to know what part is real and what part is not. So how would you encourage people, to embrace their brokenness, and instead of hiding it?
Powerful question right there. So when you think about King David, who was a man,
one of our very special
after God's
Bible people,
own heart, you would see him struggling through so much.
Yes.
If you have read the Psalms, and which I talk about the scriptures a lot, which I've consumed a lot. You see a man who is saying, God, I don't even trust me, but I trust you. Who is saying, God, I've lost it all. At the point God asked him, would you rather be in the hands of your enemies, in the hands of the people, or would you rather be in my hand? And he said, where else would I be? Kill me, destroy me, but let me be at your presence. And he said, it's one day at God's court is like 1,000 days.
Sure.
And he kept dwelling in his rags, in his filthiness. He was just pursuing and chasing after God. And for the scriptures to record that he was a man after God's own heart, you can see that in that narrative, God actually needs people who are real. A lot of people are not real.
A lot of people are not real.
Not just to you and I, but to the Father.
Yeah.
And if you imagine David as a shadow of Jesus, who he is exactly, a shadow of the King of Glory, who had gone to save his people from sin, save the Israelites and prepare the path to Jerusalem, to the temple, and actually built it, you will see that, yeah, I've got to come to God as who I am. God will trust people into your hands, nations into your hands, if you're a person who says, yeah, I know I'm dirty, but I've got destinies that are assigned to me. Even in my dirtiness, I'll go to God, and he said, even if your sin is as dark as charcoal.
So I see where you get the being called to nations from.
Yeah. So he's going to keep polishing you and keep preparing you and keep taking you to the valley of the shadows of death, because he knows that he won't swallow you. Right? Just like he says, see my servant. Have you seen my servant Job? Go and test him. Job wasn't perfect, but he could withstand all of those because he was very close to God. So God actually needs people who are real, people who will say, God, I don't have all this. Stemming from where you read from, I ended it with Jesus saying, Father, I wish you could take this cup away. So a lot of leaders get to that point when they say, Lord, I don't think I can do this anymore. I wish you could take this away. But again, Lord, let your will be done. And those are the kind of people. Jesus was a perfect example, of how to associate and relate with God. There was a time he was in the houses of sinners, Zacchaeus, and people were mocking and judging. But he said, hey, I've got to be like them to win them. I've got to be with them to win them. I actually came here for the sinners. So if I am a sinner and he came here for me, why would I hide from him? Why would I shield some part of what I'm going through to actually become who he's making me, right? So that is where that is coming from. And that is why God uses the hidden a lot. Because they don't care. They don't give a damn, what you think about their dark side. They will go broken and they will go do the best song that will win the next Grammy Award. Yeah. But you ask in all of these things, where are the believers? Where are those that are called? Where are those that are the princes? But like the scripture says, you've got the princes walking on their foot and you've got the slaves on horses. But we've got to reverse that with programs like Makamba. Oh, thank you.
Nice. Very nice. Thank you so much. It is best to be available, to be used by God, to come out and allow God, to heal, to do all the work, and ensure that you can come out of that hidden place and, actually become who God, wants you to be. Exactly. As against packaging yourself into, what nobody can even identify. Or who you can't even identify yourself.
So when you are real, God begins to heal you. Progressively begins to prepare you for the purpose. So he puts in pillars that will help you withstand the enemy when you get there. Because the top is not meant for people who've not got foundations. Oh, wow. Right? And when I was also thinking about this, God says, a lot of the times we say, if the foundation be destroyed. But if you go down to that scripture, he says, if the foundation be destroyed, then come back to the Almighty. Right? So a lot of the times we think, oh, it's destroyed, it's gone, I'm going to continue wallowing in my darkness. But hey, you are called to be light, right? And the moment you rise, you said, no. Jacob, when he cursed, like it was a curse to Esau, and he said, but the day you get angry, you will shake this cloak off your shoulders. And that was what exactly happened. And that's what God expects us to do. In the midst of gloominess that is in this world today, in the midst of darkness, thick darkness, God is still yet raising sons. But you can't come to him saying, I've got no darkness behind in my life. You've got to come, clean. You've got to come as you are.
Surrender. And then fly surrender. The white flag, yes.
Yeah, and it's going to prepare you for that big battle ahead. Because, you're not going to go, the devil will tempt you and say, turn this stone to bread. Yes. Then at that moment, you've got to respond with the right you.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. So we're rounding up very quickly, but I would like to just ask and piggybacking off this, last question, I want to put this out again because so we've already had we've had a few episodes of Makamba already out, and we've seen the vibe that people are catching on to see, what, this is where I should be, if I'm trying to get my life back on track. Hence the reason why we're bringing guests like you on the show to ensure that people can actually see that you second chances, third chances, fourth chances, is very available as long as you're keyed into, the right source, the right support system, you're keyed into God, and all that. So I'd like to look at this again because it might be bringing back a bit of, your past in it. And, when you look at your past, where are you today? Okay. Where are you today? Some of us know where you are today. I mean, when we are able to relate your past to where you are, where are you today? And I'd like you to give a message of hope because we have a lot of people that are in very, very painful situations, for want of a better word to put it. I'm trying to avoid being very negative on Makamba. Somebody's going to listen to this. Somebody out there is going to be listening to this who feels bound, who feels broken, who feels very far from purpose. I'd like you to give a word of hope, looking at your past and to where you are today. What message of hope would you give out there? And it's very important why I'm asking this question because, I've known you for a couple of years and I have followed you for a while and I know where you are and I know where you're going. Guy, you are blazing trails. I'm seeing things, you're blazing trails. And I want people to be encouraged. Makamba Unfiltered Conversations is not just one of the shows or podcasts where people just come and flip and go. It's a legacy that is being left behind that when people feel down and low, they can come up, pick one of the episodes and be encouraged by it. So what is that hope that I want you to give out there to somebody listening? You understand, who picks this up and says, you know what, I'm going to listen to that particular episode that had Dr. Ifeanyi in it. Yeah.
Powerful. In those years where I served as a houseboy, those were the years God was teaching me the gold or the diamond or the oil in service. So I learned that through service you can win kings, you can win palaces, you can win kingdoms. I want you that is watching to go back to some of the things that seem like darkness to you. Go and do an audit, which is what I do. So I go back to those moments, not looking at them in resentment or in pain, but looking at them to say, okay, what are
a reflection?
Yeah, what are the learning curves? What are the benefits of if you've been here if you had gone through this, what are the things that God had used this to do in your life? And I see that God was actually shaping me into this servant leader. And it helps me because the moment I get into a platform, an audience, an environment, people naturally resonate with who I am and who I'm becoming. And that alone, gives me access to platforms and to opportunities. So if you're watching and you think, hey, I went through child abuse, hey, I went through rape, hey, I've gone through depression, I've had a couple of relationships that didn't work, then you know that all of those things that happened, we're actually putting you together to become this person who the world admires at the end of the day. And kings are made from trenches. Kings still come from trenches.
Kings are made from trenches. I need to remember
and
that one.
I started thinking that the elite and their offspring do not have a lot of stories to tell. And today's world is a world that consumes a lot of story. So if you are coming from the trenches and you've got to go through a lot of trials and temptations and you've got to bear some burdens that you can't share in public, it's time to go relook those stories and begin to say, hey, I've got a story. I could let the world know who I am, know my voice. I could let the world see that, okay, I'm not here where I'm supposed to be, but I am not where I used to be. So I'm moving forward, right? So it's a forward journey for you listening to me. Um, you can't come up to the stage all put together. Nobody, even the ones that inspire you, the ones you admire, the stars, the celebrities, the kings of nations, the presidents, none of them are on those stages where you look at them put together. They are not. They've got something happening that is biting them. God told that at the story in the beginning, he told them that he told the woman that, see, the serpent will bruise your heels, but your seed will bruise the head of the serpent. So you are going to continue in that moment where you have trials, but God is doing all of those things to shape you into a person who God is saying, okay, I want to use you, not just to bless destinies or generation or your family, but to bless nations.
Wow. Powerful. 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 Wow, this has just been powerful. I'm just we're very blessed on Makamba to have had you, because I know that this is about to birth a lot of new people, and there'll be a lot of people will be reaching out to you. I guarantee you that, because your story is one that people are going to go listen to over and over again, compare your story with where you are now, what you're doing, and the many more things that are about to be done. And they're just going to be like, if this happened to him, then I have hope. Something good is going to come out, from my situation.
Yeah.
Oh, mine wasn't even as worse as his. And and I'm dwelling in depression and all that. Yeah. But hey, I'm dropping this depression. I'm dropping everything that so easily besets me.
Yeah.
And I am picking up and I am running,
my identity.
Yes, and I'm my identity, and I'm running with it, And like I said, because I know a bit of your story as well, sometimes I'm also in awe. I'm like, whoa, but I know where this guy was at this time, and now he's here. You understand? So you really are an epitome of one who, surrendered to God's plan and is being used by God tremendously, And I like the part that you like to say you have been brought to nations. So you're not even limiting yourself to certain environments. You are going way above, what it is that God. So I'd like you to, if you have some last words, just, a few last words that you would just like to tell our listeners, just before I wrap up.
All right. Thank you very much.
It's been an amazing time having you here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone watching. Okay, so this houseboy has gone on to become a startup owner, a two-time founder, a techpreneur, and one word or one theme God gave me is to say he's raising leaders that will shape Africa and transform her into a global economic powerhouse. So if you jumped on this video, it is not by accident. It is not by coincidence. If you were able to just see Makamba wherever on which platform, it is not a coincidence. And I want you to stay connected here because you are going to be transformed and reformed into a global figure. And today I have clients all over the continent.
That's what I know.
From Canada, from the United States. Last week, I've got a friend who flew in from Canada to say, hey, I'm organizing an event in Kigali, Rwanda, and I want you to be a key partner. And so we are taking this beyond the shores of Nigeria, of Africa. We are going to the nations. And I want you to come join us on this journey, because the next time you hear about Makamba, maybe it will be in White House.
Oh, nice. That would be really nice.
So stay tuned and stay connected. And God bless you.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for Dr. Ifeanyi for sharing with such honesty, such vulnerability. Your journey is one that tells us that it doesn't really matter how broken, how forsaken, how bound you feel, there is always a way forward when we surrender to God's plan, So I know our listeners are going to walk away with this conversation with renewed hope, knowing that the best is yet to come. Just surrender to God's plan, and you will surely it will surely be for the best for you. Thank you so much again for joining us, Dr. Ifeanyi. We truly appreciate it. And we hope that we call you again very soon, because sneak peek, Makamba has behind the scenes a lot of the things that you're doing. So we are likely to call you back again, and we hope you would honor us to come back again, on our podcast, so that you could share a bit more. This time, another level, because we would have moved out of this particular level. We would move into the next level.
Yeah.
So thank you to our listeners. You have been listening to Dr. Ifeanyi sharing on the becoming, on this episode. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that this episode brings a lot of revival to you. I hope that it brings a lot of renewed hope to you. And I hope that it actually takes your mind from where you are to where you are supposed to be. That by the time we see you or hear of you, or you put your testimony or comments in our comment section, it is about the fact that you have become into the next level. Until we come your way again, my name remains Enobong, your host. You're watching Makamba Unfiltered Conversations. And as we say, keep it raw, keep it real, keep it unfiltered. Thank you very much. I would like, before we end, to give Dr. Ifeanyi our little gift, to say thank you so much. It's our very little gift, We hope that you would use this gift, to do a bit more documentation so that we can call you back on the show. Thank you so much, Dr. Ifeanyi. Yeah. We appreciate your time with us today.
It's been a pleasure.
And we look forward to seeing you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.